it's Devin, and this is the Youngbloods. What is going on, everybody? What is going on? Another day in paradise, so I'm told. Crazy long day today. Today was a lot of stuff going on. I had to make some dog treats. I had to go I've got to go get Jacob here in just a couple hours, and then also Shannon has been and I did a farmer's market, of course, like we always do. We got those days tend to be mostly done now. Thank goodness. I think today was actually the last farmer's market for us. That being said, that's actually a good thing because I'm a little bit tired of farmers markets. You know, we do Shannon and I do these farmers markets. We sell, we have this little online store called called the Pine Ridge Home, and we sell home goods and home products and things like that, stuff that people kind of like to buy, and it's a fun little side gig. We actually won't have us a full-fledged store until we move back to the south, but that's coming. We'll get the stores put together and get that all put together back when we move back south. But that being said, as of right now, we just do little farmers markets. We sell stuff online to do all that type of thing. But overall, it is most definitely not bad. It's fun. I get to hang out with my wife, and anytime you get to hang out with your wife, it's always a good thing to hang out with your wife. So I'll say it that way because my wife is honestly, she's pretty dang awesome. And if you don't have an awesome wife, you should get you an awesome wife because they're very much needed these days. Seems like I saw this thing online. It was actually on Threads. I'm torn. There's two types of things. So I like Twitter. I enjoy Twitter, but there's also Threads, which Facebook's like, hey, we're going to create a Twitter copy, which is literally it is a carbon copy of Twitter. I mean, I don't care what anybody says. That's all it is. Yeah. I don't know. I see why Zuckerberg did it because he's trying to put everybody all in one, but it's like I know Facebook is becoming kind of irrelevant. I know that's literally no younger kids are on Facebook. That's the reality. No young kids touch Facebook. They don't like it. They don't deal with it. And there's that. So that being said, they're either on TikTok but I guess he wanted to have something that's similar to Twitter, or X now. So I'm torn though, because I mean it seems like there's a lot of bots on Threads though. That's what I've noticed. It seems like that a lot of people just copy the same type of stuff and they post the same type of content on there, and it's interesting. I mean I see some questions on there. I mean we can probably do some of these questions. It's amusing to see what people say and what people do. And I don't really see that much activity. I don't care what anybody says. I know there's a lot of activity of the same type of questions, but not many people just. I don't know. Twitter's a different beast too, because when it comes to Twitter, it seems like Twitter. So Twitter to me is where I get what my understanding of Twitter. Twitter or X is essentially just news. If I want the news, I go there, and then there's a lot of bias on there. There's a lot of seems like a lot of either you're extreme far right or extreme far left. That's what I've noticed when it comes to X. But I don't know. It's definitely interesting. I mean, you figure all these social medias they got something going on. They're all fighting for the same thing. I just wish, and this is a big wish. I just wish that Elon would bring Vine back, because Vine, honestly, when I was on Vine years and years ago, yes, I'm aging myself again. Vine, I had a lot of followers on Vine. We did really well on Vine. It was nice. It was good. And then it just one day it disappeared, of course, because Twitter decided to buy Vine. And then once they did that, it kind of just made everything all just go, by the wayside. Twitter didn't understand what they had. Either they did and they just want to get rid of it, so they try to get people to use their programming. But I don't think they understood what they did. I don't think they understood what they had at all. And so Yeah, it's definitely an interesting concept. I just wish that they would, Elon would go in and bring it back, because honestly, as much so I've got a couple of videos that are on Instagram, right? And those videos on Instagram, they did well until I posted one and I made the mistake of saying a word, a 3-letter word. Made the mistake of saying a 3-letter word. Starts with an S. And then I'm live on like these things. They had a fit, and so they kind of shadow banned me and demonetized some things because I said that word. It was in a conversation, which is the funny part. And with that being said, it made it where it's hard. Made it where it doesn't work for me, because I make my money on social media. So it makes it very difficult. Man, someone's doing some dishes upstairs, I can tell. Oh, okay. Because the water's running. Our house has noisy pipes. I hate it. But luckily, we're only here for just a little bit more. Until August of next year. So until then, I strategically make sure certain things are turned off during my recording time, because it makes it easier and quieter to do this when there's no noise. That's why I have chosen the 10 o'clock time. Now, I will say once we get back moved east, then we'll be on a different time zone, which honestly the time would be way better for people across the country, because Eastern time is way better for everybody else. So yeah. Yeah. Anyway, where you guys headed? Okay. Anyway, I guess we can jump into these. Let's go to Threads real quick and see what people are saying on Threads. It's kind of interesting. There's a lot of questions on here. There's a lot of relationship questions on Threads, which is interesting. And I tend to spend a little bit of time on Threads answering people's questions. Sometimes I'm smart aleck. Most of the time I'm pretty serious. But like this one, how to prevent divorce. There's only one comment. I wonder what that comment is. How to prevent divorce. I want to know what this guy says. Don't get married. I mean, yeah, you could do that. Or communicate. I would say probably communicate. But but that's my opinion. Who knows anyway. But there's I say we jump into the emails, go ahead and get those started, because I like the emails better because they were addressed to me personally, and people want to know things. So I guess we'll get started. First one of the night. It says, "Hey Devin, I've been friends with someone for years, but lately I've realized that our friendship is toxic. They're always negative, critical, and seem to drain my energy whenever we hang out. I know it's not healthy, but I find it really hard to cut ties because we have so much history together. Why is it so difficult to let let go of toxic friendships? And how can I finally move on without feeling guilty?" Here's the thing. Toxicity is toxicity. There's no way around it. And if you're dealing with toxic people, especially if you've known them forever, right? Just to deal with toxicity, you got to stop. What you can do, there's several things you can do here. One, you can go in and you say, "Dude, I need a break," because you tend to be more toxic. You're kind of negative and you're very critical about everything. And I'm not geared that way. I prefer to be happy. And and so just explain the situation, and you say, "We've been friends a long time, but I just can't handle all this anymore. I want to make sure that things are good, but I don't like the toxic stuff. I don't like, all the you can't, I hate to say it, but you're kind of a drain." And I'm being honest with you, because if we're friends and we've been friends for a long time, I would prefer to just tell you straight up versus, just to walk away. So, and if they don't get the hint from that and they keep on going the same way, then just don't talk to them anymore. It is okay. I mean, you can cut ties, and but don't feel guilty about it, because if you've given them a chance, and you've given them a chance to change things and do things the right way, then there's nothing else you can do. If you've honestly talked to the person and you've had a discussion, and You've explained how you feel, and they may have some feelings too. And, address their feelings and talk about it. And if they can't address your feelings and they just want to keep on being that way, say, okay, we've known each other and this is sad, but I got to move on. The thing is, dealing with toxic people, you just have to set boundaries no matter what. In general, being that I would say mostly an introvert, as I say that, it's kind of laugh because I do this stuff for a living, but I'm mostly an introvert. And when people do drain me, and I do feel drained a lot when I'm in different situations. And so if that being said, it's kind of like, okay, at what point do I say, okay, I'm good? You just have to set boundaries. Bottom line, when it comes to anybody, you set boundaries. Because if you don't set boundaries, then you're pretty much just screwing yourself over. And no one wants to be screwed over. No one wants to be, complain that they can't, everyone deserves to be happy. And if you can't set boundaries with people so you can continue to have your own happiness, then you're the one that's at fault. You have to do that. You have to set those boundaries, and so people can be on the same page. Simple as that. Yeah. Hey, Devin. I've been feeling really stuck in my life lately. Whether it's my job, my relationship, or even just my daily routine. I know I need to make some big changes to be happier, but I'm terrified of the unknown. The fear of failure or making the wrong decisions and is holding me back. How do I push past the fear and actually start living the life I want instead of staying in the unhappy rut? So here's the thing. When it comes to that, we've all been there. We all have struggled. We've all kind of just been in there, been in that rut where we don't really know how to move forward. And no, there's no simpler way to say it than just to actually take that first step. You got to just, sit back and say, okay, I'm going to just move forward. Even if it's just a small thing. It's always the small things that make life a little bit easier. If you just take one small little step forward, your life will get better. As far as the fear of failure, why? There's no need to be afraid to fail. Honestly, I'll say it, you should look forward to failure. And, that may sound crazy to say, look forward to failure. If you are failing, then you're learning. Because you don't learn anything from success. You never have, never will. You just get excited because, ooh, we did it, yay. But you don't learn anything. If it wasn't for failure, then we would never really want success. Because it goes both ways. You have to press forward to get what you want. So success is a fickle little beast anyway. You get a good high off of it, but failures tend to be better because, in my opinion, because if you fail, then you get to recognize where you can improve. And in a sense, that's what we all want. We all want to improve. We all want to be able to make sure that we get to where we want to get, and without improvement, we can never get what we want to get. So don't be afraid of failure. That's just make a decision and go. And because what happens if you fail? What happens? What's the worst thing that's going to happen if you fail? Literally, what's the worst thing that happen? It's kind of like asking to get a girl out on a date. If you don't ask her, you're never going to get a chance to go out with her. So the odds are you go ask her out on a date. She can say yes or she can say no. And if you can get her to say yes, then you won. If she says no, then you just move on and you find another girl. So it's just make the decision, take that one step forward and make it happen. Honestly, don't even look. If you're afraid that the first step's going to be hard, don't even look. Just go. Just make it happen. Because especially if you're stuck in a rut, like you claim you are, I named this one paralyzed by fear. But if you're paralyzed by fear, don't let it hold you back. What's going on, my friend? How are you? Fear sucks. But if you can get past that fear and you take that first step, your life will be so much further and be so much more amazing. Plain and simple. So, yeah. All right, what else we got here? The next one says, "Hey Devin, I grew up in a very religious household, and for most of my life, I believed what my family believes. But lately, I've been questioning my faith and feeling disconnected from religion. I was raised from the religion I was raised in. The problem is my family is extremely devout, and I know that I know that they'd be heartbroken if I told them I don't feel the same way anymore. How do I navigate this without disappointing them? Should I just keep pretending, or is it time to be honest, even if it means risking my relationship with them?" Okay, here's the thing. if you're afraid to discuss, so if you grew up in a very religious household, right? If you've done that, and then you're afraid to speak your mind on stuff because you don't quite believe it anymore. Okay, let's figure out, first of all, why don't you believe it? And it may not be right. It may not be for you. So let's talk about this, right? So let's come back to let's figure out why you don't believe it. Is it because you're just missing out on proofs? Are you wanting more proofs? Because there are proofs to certain things, and you can get proofs to certain things. Now, whether people want to acknowledge that or not, it is 100% true. 2, are you just burnt out? So here's the thing. We live in Utah, and I would easily say this is a very religious area of the country. That being said, I have grown up a member of the church all my life. A member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints all my life. I have seen the good and I've seen the bad. One thing I've noticed out here, I would say it's probably harder to know whether the church is true or not out here, because most people out here that I've found, they don't know what they believe. They do it because it's like a country club. Not all of them, don't get me wrong, but they do it. A lot of people do this because it's kind of like a country club to them. Gives them something to do. And then they do it because they're in your boat, which you could be a member of the same church. And you just kind of, a lot of people just kind of scoot along when it comes to believing in God. Some people pretend, some people believe, then some people know. First of all, do not ever worry about disappointing your family. Okay? If they're going to judge you because of something that you're struggling with, then they're idiots. They shouldn't be that way. No one acts that way. That's not how this is supposed to be. So if they do that, that's on them. You don't need to worry about it. You don't need to put your focus on the wrong way. You just need to focus on the right stuff. Now, if you just don't believe anymore, does that make you a bad person? No, it does not. You're still a good person. I don't care what anybody says. You still are. So you don't even really have to address it. And if they do address it, you can just tell them why you feel the way that you feel. Because if they are good people, which they should be good people, then they should be able to accept it, even though they may not agree with it. I think that's the biggest problem. People, when they have the fear of losing things, especially family members, they're afraid that they're going to lose family based off of acceptance of what you believe and what you want. How many of us have friends, right? A lot of us have friends. Most of us have friends, right? How many of those friends are only our friends because we believe in the same stuff? I can tell you, most of my friends and I do not believe in the same stuff. Most of my friends and I, when it comes to politics, we don't believe the same stuff. When it comes to religion, we don't believe in the same stuff. We have a lot of things that we have in common, but that doesn't mean that we believe the same thing. But guess what? We accept each other, we talk to each other, and then we're friends. That doesn't mean we don't like each other. It just means that we have different beliefs and different things we follow, that we that we do. It's that simple. You shouldn't have to pretend that you're something that you're not. But if you do have questions, and here's the thing, when it comes to any religion, it is okay to have questions and you should ask questions. But you also have to be willing to accept the answers when they come. And that's where most people get it wrong. Most people don't want to accept the answers that they get when they get those answers because it doesn't fit into their standards that they want to live. And so once it goes against the standards that they want to live, then they say, well, I don't believe this anymore. All because they're afraid to follow through with what they've been told. So there's that. That is a hard truth that most people are not willing to even acknowledge. You have to be able to acknowledge the hard things in life and follow through, and do the hard things in life and follow through. So there's that. But don't worry. If your family will love you no matter what. And if you feel like they won't, you're wrong. Again, just have the discussion, talk to them, and everything works out. Simple as that. All right. Hey, Devin. I've always wanted to be a musician, but we got another religious one. I didn't realize that. But in the religious community I'm part of, pursuing a career in entertainment isn't exactly encouraged. I feel like I'm being pulled in two different directions. My faith tells me to stick to more traditional path, but my heart tells me to follow my passion. How do I reconcile these two parts of myself without feeling like I'm letting one side down? So I don't know where you're. Okay, music in general is good, right? There are some religions out there that say music's evil, dancing's evil, all these different things are evil. I disagree with that. I can't speak to that belief because I don't believe that. I believe if it can uplift, it is good. You know, I've seen people say, "Well, rock music is horrible; it's of the devil." Have you listened to some rock music? Some of that stuff is actually more religious than even church hymns. To be honest, my opinion is, I think you may be afraid of letting people down versus anything else. Similar to the last email I just read, I think you're more afraid of letting people down versus following what you know is right. Because you can stick to your religious beliefs. Okay, you can stick to a religious belief and follow your dream at the same time. But the problem is, if your religion says music's evil, then you can't. I would go in. I dare say that you should probably read your scriptures a little bit more and see what the scriptures actually say about music. Plain and simple. So yeah, there's that. I know I grouped all these things together. That's what I did. Let's get to something that's not so. Yeah. Hey, Devin. I've been with my partner for almost a year now, and things are going great, except they recently suggested we combine our finances. I've always been pretty independent with my money, and honestly, I'm not sure I'm ready to give up the control and trust someone else with my finances, my financial future. I love them, but it feels too soon. How do I handle this without making them feel like I don't trust them? Okay. Couple of questions I have. And obviously I got to answer them both ways. You said your partner, so that means one of a few things. One, you're married, you're not married, or you guys are just and you guys are been together for a while. Well, you partner for almost a year now. So you've been together for a year. So you're not married. No. Do not combine your finances. If you're living together, then I would say split your bills. Simple as that. But don't combine your finances. You know, if you're married, I tell people, every married couple needs at least 3 bank accounts. 3 bank accounts would be the minimum. One for you, one for her, one for both you guys. Both you guys is where most of your money goes, and you pool your money together in that one thing, and then what you pool your money together, those are that's the money that pays all the bills. But you're not there. You're not married. If you're not married, do not combine your finances. You help each other, and you pay bills together. Simple as that. If you want to split things 50-50 and you just want to send them the money and it gets paid, do that. But if you're not married, do not combine your finances, because that's insanity. Because do you trust, especially if you've only been together for a year, do you trust that person enough to make sure it goes the right way? And you said you don't. Well, you said how do I handle this without making them feel you don't trust them? Just tell them that you've only been together a year and your finances are fine. And if there's no ring on the finger, then you don't need to give them your finances. Seriously, that's a danger. Yeah, that's crazy. So you just have to have the conversation and tell them that you're not going to do that. Simple as that. You're not going to do that. Because your finances are you have your finances covered pretty well, and it'll be fine. But my suggestion is no, you do not combine your finances until you guys are married, and then yes, it is important to combine your finances once you get into a marriage. Hey Devin, my partner and I have been talking about getting married, and naturally, money is coming up. Money has come up. But every time I try to ask about their finances, they dodge the question and change the subject. I'm starting to think they might be hiding some serious debt. But I don't want to accuse them without proof. How do I bring this up without making it a huge fight? If you're with somebody and they want and you're engaged to be married, you're talking about getting married, you need to talk finances. That has to be a discussion. You have to talk about it. It is a thing that needs to be talked about. Similar like to the previous question, the reality is no, they didn't need to combine their finances because they're not married. But if you're going to combine finances because you're talking about getting married, then you need to know what you're getting yourself into. Because honestly, if you're getting married and you're going to marry into a lot of debt and you don't have any debt, that's something important to know. Because, that's a sink or swim deal. If you don't do it right, you're both going to you're going to get yourself set up where you are financially distraught. Finances are so important when you get married, especially nowadays that everything's so darn expensive. I mean, you go to the grocery store, you're spending minimum $50, and that gets you, one bag of groceries? I mean, you can buy the cheap stuff, and you maybe come out with, 2 bags if you're lucky. So, yeah. And that's just the simple stuff. That's just buying groceries. So, you got to be careful. And if you're getting married, you got to do it the right way. You got to do the things that are going to protect you financially. That's a discussion that has to be said. And it's not whether you don't trust them or not. It's just saying, hey, we need to make sure we're on the same page. I want to discuss this. We need to get it out. It's like when I discuss finances with my wife, she hates those conversations because money can be sucky. And especially if you ever have the lack of money, that makes it even worse, which makes the conversations that much harder. So yeah, you gotta have the discussion. I mean, that's simple as that. You have to talk about it. Hey Devin, my 12-year-old has a habit of starting hobbies and activities and then wanting to quit after a few weeks. They've done this with sports, music lessons, even school clubs. I don't want to force them to do something they don't enjoy, but I also worry that they're not learning the value of persistence. How do I help them stick to something long enough to see if they really like it without being a pushy parent? Be a pushy parent, especially if you're paying for all this stuff. So I know for a fact, school sports are not cheap. I know that music lessons are not cheap. I know that just anything like that, school clubs, all those things, they're not cheap and it takes time. And as a parent, you have the easy way, right? So you're what I'm thinking is you probably have it easy because you're like, okay, well, if they quit, that saves me a little bit of money. But the reality is you spent the money already. And if you spent the money already, then why are you make your kid do it? Simple as that. Plain and simple. Be that parent, because if you make, okay, huge for instance, we had a church youth conference thing going on a couple years ago, right? And my middle son, I said, hey, youth conference is coming up. Would you like to go? I gave him an option. And he said, yeah, sure, that'd be fun. So I said, okay. So I signed him up. And this was free. Don't get me wrong. This was literally free. And so I signed him up. And then, a few weeks goes by. Then all of a sudden it's like a few days before the conference. And I tell him, I said, okay, you got youth conference this week. Let's make sure you got everything. I got the packing list. He goes, oh, I don't want to do that, Dad. I'm like, no, you're doing it. This is something you're doing. And he's like, but no, I don't want to do it. I'm like, I signed you up. You got to do it. He's like, Dad, I really don't want to do it. Please don't make me do it. I said, here's the deal. I gave you an out before. I didn't just say you're going. I said, do you want to go? So you made a commitment. This is a lesson that we need to teach all of our kids, and all our kids need to follow through. So if you make a commitment to something, then you have to fulfill it. That is not my obligation. My obligation is to make sure that you follow through, since I signed you up for it after we had discussed it. So that being said, he's fighting me. He doesn't want to go even the day of, when I drive him to get picked up before they head down to, I think, St. George, Utah or something like that, wherever they went. And he's like, I really don't want to do this. I'm like, I don't care. You made a commitment. You're following through it. We are men of our word. We say we're going to do something. We follow through and we do it. It's that simple. So he's sitting there in the car, kind of going back and forth, trying to negotiate himself out of doing this, while the leaders are right there loading everybody up and things like that. And I look at him and say, okay, here's the deal. I'm going to see you in a few days. You're going to be fine. I'll get your stuff. So we got the stuff out of the back car. We loaded it up into the van that had all the luggage. He got in the car and he drove away. He did not want to go. And I understood that. Could I have said, sure, let's just don't go? I could have. But I was the parent being a parent is not easy. And being a parent is very difficult. And sometimes as a parent, you have to make your kids do things that they don't want to do. Because of the valuable lesson that they'll learn is we follow through no matter what. If you make a commitment to something, you follow through with your commitment and you do it no matter what. It's the right thing. Just like I've always told every one of my kids, you do the right thing no matter what, even if it's going to hurt you. So he made a commitment. That was the right thing. He followed through. Begrudgingly, he followed through, but he followed through and he did it. So doing the right thing is always going to be the right thing. And as a parent, we have to make those hard decisions to make our kids do things that they don't want to do. If your kid does chores, do they negotiate themselves out of the chores? Do they say, oh, I don't want to do that today? Or do you say, no, this is your chore, you're doing it, because I'm not going to do it? I mean, as a parent, we can do everything. Seriously, we can go to things, we can not go to things, we can follow through. I think that's the biggest problem. So I think part of our society is kind of messed up from the point that it's kind of like the whole, what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of like when everybody gets the trophy. If we're just giving trophies out to people because they participated, that's wrong. That's not fulfilling a commitment. That's just saying, hey, here's a surprise. Now, I think if you're going to give ribbons out to everybody, then you also need to give trophies out and saying, yes, this was first place. This was second place. This was third place. That's what they do at the Olympics. They do the 3 places. But if you want to make sure everybody feels somewhat special, sure, give them a ribbon. But you give the trophies to the winners. And I think that it's an injustice for us as parents and for your kids if you're not making your kids follow through and understand that there is winning and then there's losing. And by not following through, you're actually losing, and you're not following through with your commitments in life. You want your kids to be winners, make sure that they lose in some things. And that means when it comes to you being a parent or them wanting to do something, you're going to make sure that they lose the battle of made a commitment, you're following through. So if your kid is doing music lessons and you bought them an expensive instrument, they're following through. They're going to learn to at least play 4 or 5 songs. Simple as that. If your kid is joining like chess club, he needs to learn how to play chess. If he's doing any type of sports, he needs to be following through, and he needs to finish that year. Now, if he doesn't want to do it the next year, so be it. But you make them follow through with their commitments. It's like, do you go to work every day and you do your job? If you do, then you're following through with your commitment. Unless you can get away with telling your boss, I'm really not feeling it today. I'm just going to stay home. That's it. That's stupid. No one does that. That's not how life works. So again, if you're worried, if you don't know how to get your kid to do something, be the parent. Make the hard choice, make them do it. Simple as that. Follow through, make it happen. Will they be mad at you? Absolutely. Does their anger mean much? No, it doesn't. Because they're angry at you for making them follow through with something that they said they wanted to do. So the anger is geared toward and focused on the wrong direction. And that's another learning lesson you can teach your kid. You can explain to them that, you know what? You're mad at me because I'm making you do something that you said you wanted to do. So I'm just making sure you are fulfilling your commitments. Just like you go on if I tell you we're going to Disney World, you're going to bug me until the day of we go to Disney World. Then we're going to go, and then you'll be like, oh, look, we did it. But if you're making promises to your kids and you're not following through, then you're setting a bad example anyway. Which comes telling me you're probably overpromising and underperforming. Kind of like when people lose their jobs, usually it's because they overpromise and underperform. So yeah, there you go. Hey, Devin. I'm in my late 40s, and I've been thinking about going back to school to pursue a degree. I've never had a chance to finish, but I'm worried I'll be the oldest one in the room. And part of me wonders if it's too late to start over in a new career at this stage in my life. Is this just a midlife crisis talking, or should I go for it? Okay, first of all, you're never too old to go to school. You're never too old to learn something new. You're never too old to start a new career. The reality is we can do things at any age we want to if we're willing to follow through and with our commitments, right? Being in your 40s, that'd be like me quitting all this and starting a career in something new. It's not a problem. I can do it. It works. So the reality is you're never, first of all, I'm going to say you're never too old to start something new. I don't think it's midlife crisis. If you want to improve your life and you want to improve your education in your life, then just do it. Pull the trigger. There's nothing wrong with starting over anyway. We learn, we get educated, we do things that are right, and it works out. I say pull the trigger and do it. You're never too old. Hey, Devin. I've been a parent for a few years now, and honestly, I feel like I have no idea what I'm doing. Every time I think I've figured something out, something else goes wrong, and I'm terrified that I'm failing my kids. Is it normal to feel like this, or am I just really bad at this whole parenting thing. Thanks, parenting and panic mode. Being a parent is one of the hardest dang things I've ever done in my life. It is not easy. It is tiring. It is draining. It is draining in multiple ways, physically, mentally, emotionally, financially. It is literally the hardest thing I think anyone could ever do. Is it worth it? Yes. Keep hitting that. Could I and can I do things differently? Yes. We have 5 children. And out of all of our 5 children, they all have different personalities and different things, a different way of doing things. And, it is not, and I'll repeat, it is not easy. Right when, like, as you said, right when you think you got things figured out, something else happens. Welcome to being a parent. It's not easy. But I tell you, and I sincerely mean this, out of all of our kids, our youngest is now turning 14, literally tomorrow. He'll be 14 years old. That's amazing. My oldest daughter, she's 23 in a few days. They still talk to us. They still want to do things with us. That's a success. As long as you're working towards something and trying to make life better for them, better for yourself, and you're teaching the right things, meaning teaching them to do what's right, you're going to be fine. Sure, money is not always, there's not ever enough. When you're raising kids, you can never ever have enough money. It is freaking hard to make sure you have everything covered. And with the way prices are these days, I put up gas in my car today and it cost me a fortune. Could that have been money that I could have used over my kids? Yeah. But I need it so I can keep making money. We got to get to farmers markets. We got to do, events. There's a lot of things that we need to be doing and we can be doing, but we always figure it out. So no matter how the hard part is of the things that you're going through, there's still stuff that's going to happen that's going to be bad or good. Again, I go back to my favorite quote, Charlie Chaplin. He says, "Life is a tragedy when seen up close, but a comedy in long shot." So if you're worried that you're being a horrible parent and you're not sure how things are going to be going, the reality is this. Think about that quote by Charlie Chaplin. It's a life's a tragedy because we're right here and we see it right here in front of us. But if we can just pan out and look at it from long shot, look at the whole picture, it's amazing. I remember holding my oldest daughter for the first time in my life, and how small she was in my hands, and how frail she felt, how I felt like I was going to break her. Felt like I had no clue what I was doing because I didn't. But in the end, it worked out. She's married now. She's got a wonderful husband. She's starting a new successful business, and she's still going to school. I'd call that a win. So as long as you look for the little wins in your life, and you'll notice, no matter how bad the little things go wrong, those little small wins that happen, if you change the diaper and you didn't get peed on, win. They ate all their Cheerios or whatever you're feeding them, win. You got them to bed on time, and they stayed in bed all night long, win. All those little things that we don't think about as being good, the celebrate small should be celebrations. They're 100% small celebrations, and you need to just celebrate every one of them. So when you think life is just going wrong when you're raising your kids, and you're scared that you're failing them, I promise you, think about the little wins. Something happened that day that was a win. Little wins turn into big wins, and if you got a big win, you're doing everything right. You'll be okay. As a parent, I can tell you, you will be fine, because if you just look at those small little wins, everything will work out. Hey, Devin, I'm in a job that I obviously hate. It's soul sucking, and I dread going to work every day. But the pay is really good, and I've got bills to pay, so quitting isn't an easy option. Do I tough it out for the money, or should I take the risk and start looking for something that makes me happier? Here's the thing. I'm going to say it. Most jobs suck. Okay? Most jobs do. And if they don't suck right now, then they tend to turn into something that just is soul sucking and just crushes you. Because you're working for someone else, and you're creating them wealth, and you're getting paid enough to survive. And you said this job pays you good, but it's soul sucking. So my suggestion is this: if you hate your job, look for a new one. It is okay to look. No one's going to be mad at you if you look for a job. You just got to go in and do it. Because everyone deserves to be happy, but yet you still got to pay all your bills. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm good. Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're good. We're just talking about how some jobs suck and they crush your soul all the way through life.
Well, shall I give your listeners the wisdom that you have given me? Two
Sure.
things.
Sure. Go for it.
Ready? Everybody, this is, hey, Devin. This is Devin wisdom. Number one, the best time to look for a job is while you have one.
Amen.
And so to this individual who wrote in on that, sometimes you have to do what you have to do in order to be able to do what you want to do.
Also true.
So I would say combine those two together, make the money, pay the bills, but while you're doing that, start to look for something that fulfills your soul and still meets your budgetary needs.
I mean, it is easier to get a job if you have a job. Because then it's a matter of, say, they'll ask you when you can start. And you say, I can start in 2 weeks because I want to give my current job 2 weeks. And they're like, oh, he's doing the nice thing. Honestly, you don't have to give a job 2 weeks. That is one of the biggest farcities in give 2 weeks. That's just a common courtesy when it comes to jobs. Now, if you've done your job right and if you didn't complain and you always fulfilled what you're supposed to do, if you left the day, they can't badmouth you. If they do, then they're in the wrong, and technically you could actually sue them, because if you've fulfilled your obligation, even though you didn't give them 2 weeks, there's nothing they can do. So yeah, I mean, and those are the two things that I tell everybody. I mean, you always have to do what you have to do so you can do what you want to do. And if your job sucks that bad and it's soul crushing and you just dread going into work, start looking for a new one. You deserve to get a new job. You deserve to be better yourself, but you also deserve to be happy. But nothing is makes you more unhappy than not having money to pay those bills. So keep doing your job and look for something new. That's my suggestion. What do I know? All right.
Quite a bit, actually.
Yeah, maybe. Hey, Devin, I'm approaching retirement age, and while part of me is excited, I'm also scared of what comes next. We have an older gentleman write me. I'm actually excited for that.
This is kind of cool.
I've worked my whole life, and I can't picture myself sitting around doing nothing. What if I get bored or feel like I don't have a purpose anymore? How do I know when? How do you know when you're really ready to retire? Okay, I am not retired. My dad is retired, and the only thing I can say is I look forward to the day that I do retire. But I have retired from different jobs, I guess you would say. I think you're in a great position. I think what a lot of times when we think of retirement, we think of just sitting around doing nothing, not doing, being able to figure, I'm just bored all the time. I think if you retire right, you don't have those worries. One, I would say, are you married? You probably are. Spend some time with that lovely person that you've been living with for your whole life. 2, do you have children? Spend some time with them. 3, if you have grandchildren, you got amazing time right there. You're not going to get bored. And if you get yourself set up right by retiring whenever you are, I don't know how old you are, but go travel. Go see some places. Go do the things that you've always wanted to do. Buy yourself a tractor. If you got a piece of land, buy yourself a tractor and do some farming. I mean, literally, there's a million things you can do. Now, I've got a brother. He just retired from the FBI. And he's got, I want to say he's got 80 acres in maybe almost 90 acres in Ohio. And he's creating him a new farm. He's actually building a farm out. And he's got, I think he's got he just planted 80 something apple trees. So I don't know how many he's going to be covered up with apples, like ridiculous amount of apples. You don't have to sit home and be bored. You just need to find something that you enjoy doing and then doing it. And if you've worked all your life and you've enjoyed the work, then why not enjoy the work that you want to do versus enjoy the work that you had to do? So yeah, there we go. That's my opinion. I mean, retirement would be kind of cool to think about it. I want to be in your place, but I'm not going to be there until I'm in mid 50s, maybe early 60s. I'll go that far. We will see. I'm 46 years old, so I still have some work I got to get done. So we'll see. And of course, I still see myself doing this when I'm retired too, because this is something that is enjoyable. Talking to people, answering questions, all that type of stuff. That's a good thing. But yeah. Hey, Devin. My 8-year-old came home from school the other day and asked if Santa is real because one of his friends told them he isn't. I wasn't ready for this conversation, and now I'm freaking out about how to handle it. Do I tell them the truth, or should I try to keep the magic alive a little longer? Santa Claus. You got something you want to say? No. So okay,
ask your 8-year-old what they believe.
Well, here's
and support what they believe.
Right. It's a conversation, and then if they ask you, well, my so and so said Santa Claus is not real. I had someone tell me once, I can't believe you lie to your children and tell them that Santa Claus is real. My reply was, I can't believe you don't tell your kids that Santa Claus is real. They're like, well, it just builds up false hopes. I'm like, no, it builds up magic, and magic is awesome, and magic is amazing, and it creates a world where, especially in a world where there can be so much hate, so much venom, so much spite. It creates a world where they can have something fun to be excited about every year, something that they can brag about. And yes, I get it. You're giving you're buying those Christmas presents from Santa and give them to your kid. You know what the coolest moment of my life was? When I realized that my parents were Santa Claus and that they were the ones buying me those gifts, that they loved me that much. that they gave me those gifts, and then they gave me gifts from them too. Holy crap. Now, as far as how to handle that whole situation, I think it's simple. If your kid is old enough to know, and you feel like he or she is old enough to know, then, and if they have other siblings, this is what we've done. When our kids got older, as they got older, and they learned about Santa Claus, I always say there's 3 stages in life. First, you believe in Santa, then you don't, then you become Santa. Right? I'm in the 3rd stage. Now, what I've done for my kids, actually all my kids don't believe in Santa anymore. But when they did, we did it the right way. When they stopped believing in Santa, we explained the situation to them. And we said, yeah, your mom and I, we were Santa. And this is what we did. And then they'd ask us, well, why'd you do this? And if they ever ask you, why'd you lie to them? Say, because we want you to have some happiness, and we believe Santa can bring happiness. Did Santa bring you happiness? And every time the kid's going to say, yeah. And you say, what's your most fond memory of Santa? And they're always going to give you an answer because they haven't. Every kid has a cool story about Santa. Every kid does. So when our older kids came to the age of not wanting to believe anymore, then we introduced them to become Santa with us. So we would make it special where we would get all the stuff, but then that night of Christmas Eve, they would help us put all the Santa stuff out. They'd help us fill up the stockings. They'd help us put the toys out. They'd help us do all the little things that Santa does in your home. Whatever your family tradition is, that's what we would do. And they would help us. So they got to be part of becoming Santa and helping their siblings celebrate an amazing, event, Christmas. In turn, we'd also tell them, how can we be Santa for those that are around us? And then we would create activities for them to do to take the Santa spirit to other people. That's what you do. That's my opinion. And if your child is an only child, then you can still do that. So what you can do is have them become Santa with you, but you also tell them, when we do this, you have to keep this quiet, and you have to keep this to ourselves, because we want to make sure that these other kids continue to want to feel that magic and that beauty that they have when they believe in Santa Claus. That's what you do. Because there's no greater thing in the world than believing in Santa. Santa's the most magical thing that could ever live. And to those parents that try to shame me for teaching my kids that Santa Claus is real, shame on you. You're taking something so beautiful away from your children just for the sake of saying that, well, I don't want to lie to my kids. I guarantee you've lied to your kids before. And and that is not even a lie. That's something that's one of those white lies that's just, it's teaching something to give selfishly. It's in a sense to be Santa Claus, and to say that you're Santa to your kids, that for them to not, if they say they believe in Santa Claus and you're Santa Claus, you're showing that to your children. And if you teach this thing correctly, you're teaching them that it is okay to give without getting recognition. Because as a parent, you're giving to your children, and in the name of a mythical person who's not real. And so they believe in this great, awesome person that's giving them these things. And you don't have to have recognition. Because I guarantee you, every parent, when they see their kids go to that Christmas tree and open up those Christmas presents from Santa, or like in our house, Santa never wrapped presents. There was a distinguishment between the presents that came from us versus the presents that came from Santa. Santa would just put all the presents on the tree and they're unwrapped. That's how we did ours. But there's nothing more magical as a parent, and the joy that we get when we see our little ones go to that tree and they see those gifts, and they pull down the stockings and they see those gifts from those stockings, and the happiness that they have. To me, that is worth it. Even if I lied to my kids and said there's a such thing as Santa Claus. That's my opinion. Hey, Devin. Ooh, this Okay, this one is a little bit hard. This one's a hard one for me because I struggle with this myself. Hey, Devin. Lately, every time I get stressed, I find myself reaching for snacks, and I'm starting to show, and it's starting to show. I know it's not healthy, but in the moment, it's like I can't control myself. How do I break this cycle before I turn into a human snack machine? I enjoy a dang good snack, and when I get stressed, I snack. And when I snack, I gain weight. And when I gain weight, I feel like crap, and then I stress more, and then I eat more. It is a stupid, ridiculous, vicious cycle. It's what I do. So I'm right there with you. Now, what I have done to change, this is me. I'm only going to speak of what I know and what I'm trying to do. I have tried to stress less. I know. Easier said than done. I have tried to figure out other ways to divert my stress. And part of that is I've been taking vitamins more. I've been taking magnesium. Everyone needs magnesium in their life. Everybody needs to take it. It's good for your blood pressure. It's good for it to help you sleep at night, and it helps you relax a little bit more. You also need vitamin D. Make sure you are taking your vitamins, okay? But what I've done to help change some of my habits, and so I feel full more, I have upped my protein like no other. So I myself, I'm on the carnivore diet. I've heard people say that's bad for you. I've heard people say it's great for you. I've seen nothing but good come from it because I have lost some weight. And I feel full all the time because I eat enough protein, enough meat, enough eggs, enough butter, enough all of that stuff that I feel full more often, that I don't eat as much. I don't snack as much. And if I do snack, I go snack on something like, I'll even eat an avocado every now and then. But I literally am eating the things that are making me feel good. My brain functions is better. That to me, that's worked more than anything else, because a few months ago, I suffered from some brain stuff, and it's kind of changed my world upside down. I learned something the other day that I've done, but I don't remember ever doing, or not knowing where it was or what was going on, because I didn't remember it. So I do know that I've never had the best. I have had the best less brain fog, because I'm eating more protein. I eat a lot of eggs, because eggs make brains, right? So it's actually a superfood. Eggs are superfoods. Whatever. Don't care what anybody says. As far as not snacking, you just if you feel full longer, then you don't want to snack. If you stress more, then drink some water. I've gone through 3 of these today, so that's me. But again, it's a vicious beast and it's a vicious cycle. And I resemble this question like crazy. And the last thing I can tell you is you're just going to have to practice self-control. Go for it. What you got?
Write down your goals of what you want to achieve, and also take the time to write down the replacements for when you get stressed. Journal. Okay, when I get stressed, I go eat. So sit down and actually write down, when I get stressed from now on, this is what I'm going to do. The more you write it and you review that, the more the habit will be ingrained in you, and then the replacement behavior will slide in, and the eating won't be the behavior when you get stressed.
Right. It's all about making and creating good habits. That's the reality. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, and honestly, snacking is not terrible. It's what you're going for. Now, I'm not telling everybody to jump on the carnivore diet. What I'm saying is, if you need a snack and you're feeling stressed, honestly, go get an apple. Seriously, get an apple. Apples are not bad for you. Get an apple, because there are things in apples that actually can help relieve some stress. You just gotta, if you're going to snack on the right things. Don't eat an entire bag of chips, because that's horrible. That's bad for you. Don't sit down and it's like, yeah, I love sweets. And I tell you, I really love sweets. I did the other day, and this was funny. I found this recipe online. I can't remember the guy's name, but he's hilarious. And he is the recipe on TikTok, and it worked out very well, actually. It was for a lemon pie. And the recipe makes 2 lemon pies. Oh my gosh. This is probably by far the best lemon pie I have ever had. It's simple. The recipe is simple. It's 1 can of frozen lemonade. You let it get liquidy. You get a can of sweetened condensed milk. And then what else was there? That can. Oh, and then 1 container of Cool Whip. Put those all in a bowl, mix it up really well, pour that on top of a graham cracker crust, put it in the freezer for overnight. When the next morning or next day, it's perfect. Literally, keep it in the freezer. It is perfect consistency, perfect smooth. We still have 2 3/4 pieces of pie, or 2 3/4 of pie left in the freezer because I've only had 1 little teeny tiny piece, and then the rest of the family had some. So that tells you I'm doing good because I love sweets and this is amazing. But the fact that it's still there and I haven't touched it is awesome. So I know I'm moving in the right direction, although I don't want to. I would love to go up there and probably sit down and eat the entire pie. It's that good. But man, it's all the little things and acknowledge the little wins. So if you're stressed, instead of going to go eat a dang bag of chips, say I'm gonna go eat an apple or eat a banana, and then move on. Then you'll be fine. Celebrate the wins. Simple as that. My opinion.
I like it.
Hey Devin, I've been at my job for a few years, and did I do this? Okay, make sure I didn't do this one already. Okay. Hey Devin, I've been at my job for a few years now. And lately, I've been slacking off and cutting corners to make things easier. No one's noticed yet, but I'm starting to feel guilty about it. Should I confess to my boss and risk getting in trouble, or should I just tighten up my work and hope no one finds out? If you've been slacking off and no one's noticed, it's not a lie just to do better. Do better. Simple as that. Then if they do notice that you've started doing better and they're like, wait a second, they'll probably bring it up. Say, hey, we noticed that some things were getting a little off, but now you're back on track. What's up? And just tell them, say, hey, I just, I apologize. And that's when you can apologize. Say, I'm sorry. I just going through a few things, and I recognized it, and I've decided to get back to where I needed to be. So I started focusing back on the job as I should. That's what you do. I'm not a condoner of slacking off and you're either in or you're out, is my opinion. So, but the fact that you're feeling guilty about it tells me that you do take pride in what you do. But yeah, I wouldn't go confess it to your boss. Don't bring it up. They probably haven't noticed. And so just, I wouldn't continue it on because eventually they will notice. But I would just pick it back up where it was. And if anything, make it do double time to make sure that you're getting caught up and everything's covered. Because, if you take pride in your work, which I think most people do, then that's why you feel guilty, for one, because you're not taking pride in your work anymore. But 2, take pride in what you do. People will recognize it, and it'll work out. Again, if they do notice that you've upped your game again, just tell them, say, hey, I'm just going through some stuff. I was going through some stuff. I don't really want to talk about it, but I've recognized that I was slacking, and I need to get back to where I needed to be, and that's what I'm doing. And they won't. But if you do that, that's just as good of an apology than saying, hey, I'm sorry, I was slacking off. That's my opinion. Pretty simple. Hey, Devin, my spouse and I have very different spending habits. I'm a saver and they're a spender. It's causing a lot of tension in our relationship, especially when it comes to big financial decisions. Every time I bring it up, we end up fighting. How do I help them be more responsible with money without it turning into a huge argument? That is very, very simple. Simple and easy. You need 3 bank accounts, minimum. You need a bank account. She needs a bank account, or he needs a bank account, and you need our bank account. For this to work, pretty simple. 90% of the money that you make goes into the our bank account. And that goes for both your incomes. If you have one income coming in, then you do 80% of the money goes into the one bank account. Simple and easy, right? Then what that does, that bank account alone is only for bills. I say you need 4 bank accounts, but we're not going to go to the investment side. That one goes to only bills. Then you have 10% for you in your account. He or she has 10% in their account for them, for their spending habits. And then if they don't have enough money, they don't take money out of the our bank account. The our bank account is 100% for all bills and anything that you guys want to spend money on for the family as a whole. Now, if you want to spend your 10% on them, cool. If they want to spend their 10% on you, cool. If you want to give them all your 10% so then they have 20%, fine. It doesn't matter. And then if they're not really good with finances, which typically most new married couples kind of suck at it, and sometimes it takes several years to get it figured out, you need to have the discussions and make it discussions, not arguments. You know, it's like when my wife and I, when we first got married and we started having kids, we budgeted differently. We had our bank account. We had envelopes. We did the envelope method. I don't know if you know what the envelope method is, don't you, Justin?
I don't.
Okay, so what you do, the envelope method is this. So we have our bank account. I would pull out cash and I'd say, okay, this envelope's for baby diapers. This envelope's for electrical bill. This envelope. So you budget your budget in envelopes. Each envelope has a name on it.
Okay.
And then whatever percentage of money that you need for each bill, because over a few months, you can kind of figure out how much money you need. You drop that percentage of money into that envelope. And that's what that money is there for. You don't touch it. It only is for that particular thing. So then if you don't have enough money for, say for groceries, it's time to buckle down and figure out we need to bring in a little extra income. You have to budget your money. It puts you on a budget, and each envelope is dedicated name, and that's where that money goes and stays. Now, after having 5 kids and having 2 kids in diapers for years, we had the most beautiful thing ever happen to us. And we did the envelope method for years. And I mean, years and years and years. When we got down to where we had like 1 kid in diapers, that diaper envelope was getting fat. Like it was getting fat with cash. And I'm going put money in there. I'm like, why is this thing getting so thick? Because we not only would diapers be for diapers, but it'd also be for like formula and things, anything that a baby would need. And I'm going, and it's like, what is going on? And then but I kind of blew it off. I'm like, okay, well, maybe whatever. It's just sit there. Then we had no kids in diapers, no formula getting paid, but I was still putting money in all these envelopes. We didn't readdress the budget for a little bit, and then all of a sudden, I looked at Shannon. I went and grabbed all of our envelopes. Some of them were empty because it's our bills were what the bills were, and some of them were getting pretty full. And I sat down with Shannon. I'm like, hey, we need to talk. She goes, what? I said, we need to talk about money. And Shannon hates talking about money. She was like, I said, no, this is a good thing. Because Shannon was not the greatest with money at the time. And this was a good way to teach her about budgeting and keep me in track in budgeting. And so she's like, what's up? What do we need to do? I said, I need 10 minutes. That's all we need is 10 minutes to go over the budget. And she's like, oh, I don't want to do it. And so we start off with the electric bill. And there's a little extra cash in the electric bill, and it worked. She's like, okay, that's good. We kept going through them, and then we started getting to the baby stuff and then our stuff. We weren't spending money on us either. That's the thing. And we had money going into the envelopes for each of us. And I'm like, now we come, and I saved those till the end of the discussion. I said, now we have this. No joke. That envelope that had all the baby stuff in it because we had no kids in diapers or no formula being purchased whatsoever. There was $3,000 in that envelope. It was like little shy of like, it was like close to three. It was like 2,900 and change, $3,000 cash. And I said, hey, what do we do with this? And she's like, what? I said, this envelope says baby. She goes, oh. I'm like, yeah. She goes, date night? I'm like, yes, date night. Because we were skipping date nights. We were going date nights about at least once a month. Everyone needs to go on dates, but we were doing it at least once a month. And so we divvied it back up. We put money in each envelope of the other envelope, so there was always a reserve. And then now we don't do the envelope thing. Now we just budget it out of our bank accounts. And we actually have several bank accounts. And so, when it comes to money in general, that is probably one of the biggest things that people argue about in marriage. Money and then unfulfilled, unspoken expectations. Those are the two things that people always argue about because, one, you don't know what's unfulfilled if you don't know what the expectation is. And that's one reason there's divorce, because you're not on the same page. And you need to be on the same page when it comes to all these things. Now, I'll tell you, I can give anyone the whole Dave Ramsey spill. I mean, the man Dave Ramsey is not a genius, but he is a genius when it comes to telling and explaining the simple things. He is a genius when it comes to finances. He knows how to invest money right. Now, he's not a genius because he does just spout some of the basics that people should know. But he knows how to address it to get people to listen to do it. So if you guys are struggling with money, find a Dave Ramsey book, whatever, listen to him, whatever, buy his course, whatever. I say anything done together is always a good thing. You're not better than your spouse. She's not better than you, or he's not better than you. The reality is you're in it together, and you want to set yourself apart when it comes to the future to have success and be able to say, when it's time to retire, to have money in the account to do whatever you want to do. So, and if you address it when you're younger, then when you get older, you will have the stuff that you need and that you want. Pending our world doesn't go to the crapper within the next couple of years. If that's the case, then I'll tell you right now, go get yourself a gardening book and start gardening and growing your own dang food, because you're going to need it. But money, you could both need to be more responsible. One, you need to be more responsible in explaining it in the not better way, in a nice way, versus turning it into a fight, because some people just don't know about it. And there's nothing wrong with not knowing something. It's when you do know and you don't implement it, that's when there's a problem. So don't stress over it. Have the simple conversation and say, hey, what I would do, honestly, find out if there's someone doing, even a local church or whatever, they're giving out financial classes, and say, hey, I'd like to go take this class. Would you take it with me? Because if you're doing it together, then that is non-invasive. And you're both learning something. And two, you're spending time with each other. Time spent with each other is not wasted time. That is awesome time, even if it's something that can be very stressful. Hey, Devin.
Sure.
Go for it.
Oh, yeah. No, I am going to need to step out. But I just wanted to join you tonight for a little bit.
You're good. You enjoy. You have a wonderful evening.
Be on. You as well. Keep giving good advice.
Doing my best.
Okay.
All right,
we'll
man.
talk to you later.
We'll see you. Hey, Devin. My 10-year-old has a best friend who I'm starting to think might be a bad influence. They've been getting in trouble at school, encouraging my kids to make some poor choices. I don't want to overstep, but I also don't want my child going down the wrong path. Should I step in, or is this something that they need to figure out on their own? Okay. As a parent, you want your kids to learn from their own decisions. You want your kids to learn from their own choices. But I'll say this. As a parent, if you see your kids hanging out with the wrong people, you step in. You do what's right to keep your kid from going down the wrong path. And when I mean the wrong path, meaning you don't want your kid going to jail. You don't want your kid turning into a felon. You don't want your kid doing the things that are going to hinder his future because you didn't want to step in because you thought that your kid would figure himself out, and the people that they're hanging out with, no big deal. Who your kids hang out with is who they become. Simple as that. If you hang out with 6 smokers, you'll be the 7th. If you hang out with 5 millionaires, you'll be the 6th. It comes down to perspective, who you hang out with, and what you do. So that being said, if you see your kid getting in trouble in school because he's following a friend, that's not a good friend, and you nip it in the bud. Simple as that. Be the parent. Do the hard thing. They're probably going to be mad at you, but in the end, it'll be the right thing. They don't have to understand they don't have to understand all the reasonings. All you have to do is explain to them why you're doing. You can tell them why you're doing it, and then move on. Because crappy friends will turn your kid into something that they're not supposed to be. No one wants to have a kid going through hardships worse than parents. And then as a parent, if your kid does something that's extremely illegal, you become responsible for those problems, especially if it becomes financial. And then if you have your kid if he commits some felons or whatever, that's going to follow him and haunt him majority of his life. Even if you can get it expunged, it'll follow him. So the right thing is always the right thing, and the wrong thing is always the wrong thing. Be the parent, set the example, do what's best for your kid, even if that means not letting them hang out with crappy kids. Simple as that. As a parent who has gone through some of this, I can tell you right now, the right thing is to protect your kid and get them away from the idiots. Because in the end, they will thank you. It may take them a while, and they may not understand, but it doesn't matter if they understand or not. What matters is if you do the right thing for them. And you can let your kid learn the hard lessons, but there's some lessons you don't want them to learn. Not everybody is a good parent. Not everybody is going to watch after their kids like a good parent, but everybody should be a good parent. And honestly, not all kids are easy to save. You can't change that kid. He's doing whatever he wants because he's learned it probably from his parents or the fact that his parents are not involved in his life, and they've learned it for that reason. That is the hard thing. Do the hard things in life. If you love your kid, you'll keep your kid safe and away from the idiots. Bottom line. As they turn into adults, you can't protect them, but when they're young, you can. Especially if they're 10. A 10-year-old should know some right from wrong and should be practicing that. But as a parent, you can show them from the beginning how it should be done. And yes, they will be upset. If you're afraid to deal with them being upset, then you should have thought about that 10 years ago before you did the deed. Simple as that. But now that you're the parent, you got to do the hard thing. Hey, Devin, I'm in my 30s, and while I have a stable job and decent life, I feel like I'm coasting. I don't have any real goals or passions driving me, and it's starting to get to me. How do I find purpose and direction when I feel stuck in an endless loop, just getting by? You need a purpose, my friend. And I know that's what you're asking for. You need a purpose. You got a stable job, and as you said, you got a decent life, but you need a purpose. And I'm not telling you to pull this in, but what I am saying, find something that works, that can give you direction. I say that, I'm going to go to the religious side here, okay? If you believe in God, and you can follow those simple little things that would teach you, that can help you steer you towards a purpose, right? That's one step. 2 steps, serve others. When you're helping people, you feel better. I say go volunteer. When you're serving other people, you don't worry about yourself. You're not worrying about yourself. You're worrying about the needs of some people who need your help. That's what you got to do. Plain and simple. A lot of times you can find that through religion, and where you can serve in that capacity, or help out in like soup kitchens, because most of those are tied to a religion anyway. Either way, find a purpose through service. Find yourself some hobbies too. Experiment. Try new things out. Go golfing. I don't golf. Try, there's a million things you can try. Try things. Get involved in groups. Help people. Volunteer. Volunteer for, even if you don't want to volunteer to help people, you can. There's always tons of events, like doing like event planning and things like that. They're always looking for volunteers to help get that event going. That'll give you some purpose. Find something to do. Now, if you are religious, get involved in your church. Get involved in your religion. Do things that are beyond your normal self that would make you better. Best thing to do if you want to get things going in your life, the best and most simplest thing you can ever do, get up every morning, make your bed. First thing, make your bed. Once you've made your bed, go make yourself a meal. Then go to your job. When you leave your job, go to the soup kitchen and help. Volunteer to take out the trash. See an old woman crossing the street, go ask her if you can help her to cross the street. Open the door for ladies. Do things that you're currently not doing, because that will give you better purpose. Honestly, simple thing again, serve others. And you'll notice a huge difference. Hey, Devin. I've been collecting vintage action figures for years, and my collection is worth a decent amount now. But my partner is pushing me to sell them because they say it's taking up too much space and we could use the money. I'm emotionally attached to these things, though, and I'm not ready to let go. How do I explain to them without sounding ridiculous? Sell them. I'm kidding. Here's the thing. A lot of times in life, we attach emotion to things because they were part of our lives growing up, and that's what this is. You have an emotional attachment to it. You have each little collectible that you have has some type of a memory attached to it. So, what I would do to explain this to them it's not ridiculous. You can explain to them in a simple way. I can tell you, I don't collect stuff. I don't like things. I prefer no stuff over stuff. So, but I do understand the idea and the allure of having collectibles, right? I understand it. I come from part of the reason I don't like stuff is because technically my parents were kind of hoarders, and so they always had lots of stuff, right? And we'd always have to move it when we moved, and we moved a bunch of times growing up because I was in real estate business, and if our house didn't sell, my dad would put our house up for sale, and then we'd move to the house that didn't sell. So there's that. So simple as this: just say I like these things because they have memories attached to them, and because they have memories attached to them, it's nice when I go to wherever your room is that you keep them or whatever. Or whenever time you look at them, you just say, when I pull them out, a flood of memories comes in, and it makes me feel a little nostalgic. It reminds me of those good times, and it reminds me of a time in my life that was awesome. That's what you do. You just explain it to them. And even if you think it sounds ridiculous, if they love you, they're going to listen. They'll understand. They'll figure that out. That's all you got to do. If they love you, they'll understand. Hey, Devin, I've always dreamt of traveling the world, but I've never actually done it because the idea of going alone freaks me out. I'm scared of getting lost, being unsafe, or just feeling lonely. But if I don't do it soon, I'm afraid I'll never do it at all. How do I push past the fear and finally take the leap to travel solo? My friend, you're living my dream. I want to travel. Luckily, when I start traveling, I will be traveling with my wife. I'll be going to see the things that I wanted to see, but I'll be going there with my wife. So if you're scared to travel alone, you should join some travel groups. Get to know those people. Meaning find people on social media that do a lot of traveling and ask them if you could tag along, because they're going in groups. Then you'll feel a little bit more safe. So that if you go in a group, you will be fine. Then you'll start to learn, once you get out and doing it, you'll figure out ways to start traveling by yourself on smaller trips and into safe countries and safe locations in our country and safe cities. You'll learn these things because you're learning from a group of people that have done it for years. That's the only thing I can tell you. You know, if you're worried about being lonely, then you won't be lonely because you got these people beside you. If you're afraid that, if you're just afraid to take that step, book a flight, pack your crap. You don't want to make it where you cannot get your money back on the flight. So then you're lost the money. So are you more afraid of losing the money, or are you more afraid of just getting on the plane and going? Also, maybe take a cruise. You're not alone in those. You have your own room, but you're not alone, and then you're traveling with them. There's a million things you can do, but no matter what you do, take the step, book the flight, book the cruise, whatever, just do it. Because if you don't do it, you'll never do it, as you said. So don't let simple little fears get in the way of an amazing adventure. 2 more, and then we're done for the night. Hey, Devin. Every time I'm out shopping, I find myself making impulse buys that I don't need and can't really afford. It's like I can't control myself in the moment, and then I regret it later when the bills come in. How do I break this habit before I completely wreck my finances? First of all, use cash. That's the first thing. Second of all, go in with a list. Only buy what's on the list. If it's not on the list, you don't buy it. Don't even look at it. Don't think, ooh, I could use that. Don't do that. Be stubborn. Stick to what you have a plan with and follow through. I guarantee at your job, when you make a to-do list at your work, you knock out each one at a time. Treat your finances the same way. If it's not in the budget, if it's not on the piece of paper, if it's not there, then you don't buy it. Sure, shopping can be fun. Sure, shopping's all amazing. You can find some really cool stuff, all those different things. But if you can't afford it, don't do it. Because honestly, as you say, you regret it later. Save the money, stash it away, only buy what you have to buy. I know I'm oversimplified it, but that's what you got to do. It's that simple. Hey, Devin, I have a serious problem with saying no. Whether it's work, friends, or family, I always agree to help even when I'm overwhelmed. It's starting to take a toll on me and my mental health. But I'm terrified of disappointing people. If I start saying no, how do I learn to set boundaries without feeling like I'm letting everyone down? Here's the thing. there's always going to be a million people to ask you to do something. There's always going to be so many things that have to be done. There's always going to be stuff that you have to say no. You can't say yes to everything in your life. And you can't say yes to everybody in your life because your sanity deserves it. You deserve to be happy, and you deserve to not have to deal with other people's drama. It is perfectly fine to say no. I spend a lot of my life saying yes to everybody. But then when I started putting up boundaries, man, my happiness was so much better. This will take a toll on your mental health. You will feel overwhelmed because then you feel that you're lacking, or you're doing the stuff that you want to do, you're doing it halfway versus all the way. You have to do it just for the sake of doing it. So that being said, you just got to say no. And if you're worried about disappointing people, just tell them, hey, I can't make it tonight. Or I can't do that today. Because sure, more hands make light work, but sometimes people don't understand people want the easy way out, and honestly, asking someone else to do something for you gives them the easy way out. Sometimes it's easier to teach them to do it themselves, or by making them do it themselves, so they learn the bigger picture. So then they learn that they can figure things out, and they do the hard things. And by not getting involved in their little drama stuff, then you are doing the hard thing. You are making it where they can learn to do things independently, and then you're able to fulfill your side of the whole deal independently as well. You got to just start saying no, plain and simple. And it's not that big deal. You're making a bigger deal than you can think. Saying no will bring you clarity in your life, and you'll be happier. I promise you that. Anyway, I just want to thank you guys for watching, listening, and participating, and emailing me and sending me all these questions, because honestly, it makes me have to think outside the box sometimes. It makes it where I have to sometimes focus on the job at hand and actually think a little bit more clearer for some people, because this is not an easy thing. People need answers for things. People have questions, and I'm more than welcome and happy to do it. So I appreciate the trust you guys give me.